Okay, you go. You're ready.
Oh, no, that's nice.
I've started recording.
Okay. Okay, so the first question asked was if we were to describe how the San Patrignano community, how would we describe it? And we basically wrote down this definition that is that of a drug rehabilitation community that operates through the mechanisms of normal social life. And then the second question was about what was that made their, let's say, so unusual strategy so successful for these people that needed a lot of help.
We believe that the main essential part was here is the motivation and creation of a certain culture inside the community. That was their essential part. That also was the part that differentiated them from the rest of the competitors. They were establishing a long-term relationship with their customers who were the drug addict people, who were dependent on drugs. And they were providing them not just just to get rid of their health, but to make sure that in the long term, they will not have such problems with the drug abusement. And the case shows some examples that a third of their population in the community were at least the second or third time people coming who were trying to change their way of living. Another was a point that was so successful in this for this particular community was their size. As many therapists said, that this huge size of the community won't be helpful. However, some other therapists have concluded that this huge community, that people are all having the same idea and the same goal to reach, actually becomes to be more efficient than the smaller organizations.
I think one of the biggest aspects of the community was that they had to take responsibility, and that made them be so successful because they were responsible for different jobs, and that made them want to be a better person, and they took the positive solutions to their most difficult problems, and they found the strengths in that.
Also, how they had the drug addicts work in the center. It helped them adapt to their life outside of the community, which made them more successful. There were less chances of them to relapse.
And also, in order to conclude, was their overall attention to those sick people. They were for them as the community, as the son of the Vincenzo was saying, is they're not sick. They're just people who got lost at a certain point of stage, and their idea is to train them and to provide them help in order so these people will pass on the further training to the newcomers.
Then also, I think the main aspect was that they treated their guests, because this is how they're called, as just people who needed help, not some kind of people with disease that needs to be put in quarantine and needs a specific therapy. They stressed the importance of regaining a social life while refusing drugs. And so they were not treated like patients, but like normal people. And instead of being patient that tried, who needed help to cure themselves, they were, by meeting their doctors, they were collaborating with each other. And this collaboration aspect also was another important factor to motivate the guests and to make them even more determined to overcome their fear of falling into drugs, into the drug issue again. The fact that their, let's say, masters or people who follow them were actual former drug addicts who entered in the San Patrignano community before them. And so they were all drug users, and this motivated newcomers to think they could do it. And this was important because they had to say no to drugs from their very first time in the community, which is very, very difficult for someone who is a user of heavy drugs, like the majority of the people that come to San Patrignano, which were cocaine users and heroin users.
how does Patrignano achieve world-class results in its productive activities working with people who have been drug abusers? I believe we have already talked about it, just how the process is happening. And again, in order to underline is the main point for them is to establish relationship and establish that trust in between the owner of the community, who's a lot of people refer to him as the padrino di casa, or like the father of the house. And you can see from two extremes, from negative and positive. However, he was treating them like they're part of the family, you know. They would call them the guests, but the whole idea of being inside the family gave certain recognition, gave certain position, and of course increased the motivation of those drug abusers in order to change their lifestyle. Again, another important aspect is they were trying to, which also happens to be a trade-off. I mean, not a trade-off, but a good fit. In order to reduce the costs and to be more efficient as a community in general, Vincenzo, I don't remember his last name, but he made a great fit by having the productive sites inside the community, which would also at the same time provide helping to the drug abusers. So at the same time they were training, at the same time while the sick people were trained, he was productive. He was doing productive. He was doing productive outcomes, and that was actually a good fit because customers were trained and the costs were reduced because of the internal production of food and other activities. And
also another thing that made them really productive with these activities, as we said before, working helped them a lot, and it helped the guests to be satisfied about their skills and about their abilities, what they were able to. And the staff, let's say the staff, when they were all drug users, as I said before, demanded from them the highest standards. So again, they were treated like normal people or employees. So it's not that because you're a drug addict, we don't demand a lot from you. Instead, we demand a lot because you're a normal person like the others and you can do this. So, and again, the staff and the maestros, as they were called, because there was some type of artisanal work that they could do, where again, coaches but former drug users again. So this is to reiterate this concept.
In order to add to what just Damiano said, was an important thing about the stuff that for the newcomers, their teachers were the people who had previously been conducted as a guest, you know. So in order to make it sound simpler, you will never learn from someone. You will never learn better from someone who already went through it. So the previous people that became trained, they understood the whole point. And as in this case it was said in the beginning stage, people take care of you and they have all the responsibilities among you. And by the end of the course, and by the end of when you treat it, when you feel that you're healthy, it's not that you have to take responsibility, not just of yourself, but you have responsibility of all the other people. And they said that this is the best way of teaching people how to come back into this normal stream. And in order also to add up was the use of publicity happened to be out a very good and positive, had a good and negative result. The positive result was that use of publicity has created a certain kind of a promotion, but the amount of the fillings application has increased since having that chain of trial process that Vincenzo had. And again, this is some marketing technique that they used, but again, that just was better for them because they were helping out the community. If anyone wants to add anything else, we can move on.
Transferable lessons. Again, some transferable lessons for other companies or communities like this one. They can be used. We thought of creating a certain atmosphere and culture. We all know how that is key to bond people within a company. it creates a purpose, and it creates everybody within the same community knows that this is the way we do things, and this is how this matters.
Joel, do you agree with Damiano?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What part of it do you like best?
Just mainly the first part on what he said, just rolled nicely off of his tongue, and
Okay. Keep going, Damiano. Pay attention, the rest of you.
Again, another important aspect, this is we reiterated before, that you have to treat people like people, and people are not numbers, and you have to treat them like what they are.
In order to add up what transfer lessons we can draw from this, I just wanted to point out that Vincenzo has seen the underserved market in the very beginning, because people were not getting help from the government at all, and they were not going towards, government were not even towards helping out the society. However, Rimini had a huge drug abuse problem, and sadly nobody was doing that. And the biggest lesson, transferable lessons we can draw out from here is we cannot just blame other institutions of the government and society if we're not going to do ourselves help. This has created another transferable lesson is what was really essential for some Patrignano community is they never received the help from government. It was strongly against their values and their ethnicity. If they said, if we're going to get help from somebody else's who make those people stay, then they don't feel like they're part of the family, they feel like a hotel guest. And I feel that this shows up really tight with their overall strategy and overall idea, that community.
Okay. That's it?
Other transferable lessons, setting high standards. Again, setting high standards motivates people, and you can get the best out of them, because determination is key in succeeding.
Do you think that always works? Setting high standards? Yeah.
Well,
I set high
always,
standards and I get
that's,
creamed on evaluations.
No, I wouldn't say always, because it can create internal competition in the company, and this sort of dog-eat-dog culture, which is not good. It's unproductive, actually. But this worked because these people all had this whole strategy worked because all of the guests had a common ground, and they all had a problem. And this problem was the fact that they were drug abusers, which was
we can actually draw a parallel line with Bank One. However, it was in just one community, but there's certain affiliates, when they were taking care of certain activity that overall was resulted in a positive feedback towards the overall company, and not just to the company, but to the people themselves. And that was going as well with their idea and helping them to be sustainable.
Okay. That's it?